Hello and a warm welcome back to the Pitchside Podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the BSB. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes, which you can listen to on Spotify, Google Podcasts or any other platform. And of course follow us on social media, so at BSB on Twitter, Pitchside Pod on Instagram. And join us for more in episode 123 of the podcast and the Champions League review, of course. Join us for more. And you're welcome. But definitely we cannot get there without talking about what happened on Monday, of course, on Monday night football across Europe. Of course, it was action in Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga and Serie A. And of course, I think the craziest one was in La Liga. It was Celta Vigo versus Sevilla. It was a bonkers game. I mean, people do not watch Monday Night Football mostly, really, because they can really be worn out or burned out or even burned from the games on Saturday and Sunday. But definitely that was a game worth watching yesterday between Celta Vigo and Sevilla in the Balaidos. I mean, the first goal was from Jules Koundé in the 7th minute, and then of course the game I think went completely nuts. The first half finishing 3-2 in itself was a completely sort of bonkers story, with Iago Aspas equalising and adding the second goal in the space of 3 minutes, making a comeback for Celta Vigo, then Suso assisting Fernando for the second goal inside 35 minutes, and before half-time, Brais Mendes made it 3-2 for Celta Vigo, promising that Sevilla couldn't really get the points out of this game, but wouldn't you know it, Ivan Rakitic make it 3-3 in the 60th minute, and Alejandro Papu Gomez, a player who's been rather mostly, I would say, underwhelming with Sevilla overall. He hasn't had the heights that he had with Atalanta, or the freedom that he has with Atalanta. He's pretty concise to a particular role with Sevilla. He manages to come with the goods and scores the 4th goal of the game in the 76th minute to make it 4-3 for Sevilla. And realistically speaking, this is all about the standings, because from out of nowhere now, Sevilla are 5 points behind Real Madrid, 6 behind Atletico Madrid. I'm not going to say that they are inside the title race, but realistically speaking, this could happen. I mean, if they win another game and the results help them in a certain way between then and the end of the season, this might be really a turning point. This might add a wild 4th horse from this race in La Liga title race in Sevilla to Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid and Barcelona. Sevilla face Real Sociedad away next, so that game might be really, really important, because if they win that, and of course again, if the results work out their way, it will be another horse in the title race, maybe in the last turn, in the last hurdle of La Liga title race. Moving across to Bundesliga, of course, and Hoffenheim drawn goalless against Bayer Leverkusen. Another disappointing result for Bayer Leverkusen, despite the good start from Hannes Wolf. But of course, a good start when it comes against Schalke, really, and beating them 2-1. It doesn't exactly, it doesn't exactly spell great results for Bayer Leverkusen. They'd drawn the back to reality, I would say, against Hoffenheim. Again, a game that wasn't exactly great for neither side, but definitely for a side like Leverkusen, who were top of the Bundesliga, let's remind people, about by Christmas, it definitely wasn't the greatest of results. In Italy, Benevento lost to Sassuolo at home 1-0, the goal coming in from Federico Barba, a own goal for Benevento, giving Sassuolo the victory in this one, making them 43 points at 8th. Of course, this result doesn't affect the top 4 or the top 6 in this area at all. It definitely doesn't affect anything whatsoever in the table. And lastly, of course, the Premier League. West Brom are on a roll, low-key on a roll. They defeated Southampton 3-0 with the 3 goals. Of course, 2 of them coming in the first half, Mateus Pereira and Matt Phillips. And then, of course, Callum Robinson in the 69th minute, making it 3-0 for Southampton. That is quite the streak, really, for West Brom. And all of a sudden, they find themselves 2 points behind Fulham, 8 behind Newcastle. They don't have that much of a hope in survival, but if they finish the season this good, I think they might just be, able to just about save themselves. But of course, it needs the stars to align, really, in order for this to happen. Brighton and Hove Albion elsewhere held Everton to a goalless draw at their home, of course, should I say. Everton held Brighton Hove Albion to a draw at the home because the game was all about, I think, Brighton dominating, Everton defending, and defended really well, and it ended in a goalless draw. I mean, this goalless draw definitely won't help Everton in their aspiration for the top four. That thing looks like, and it looks pretty, pretty underwhelming. The way that Everton dropped in form for the whole season. They don't have these big aspirations anymore for the top four. It doesn't look like a possible or a doable thing in the last 7 weeks that left in the league. Was to have a game in hand in comparison, of course, to to Brighton and Hove Albion, and definitely with Man United, Leicester, West Ham, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham all still having a game in hand in comparison as well. It will definitely make the situation a lot more interesting in the top four of the Premier League. Let's get into the real business though, and let's talk about the Champions League, of course, the second leg of the quarterfinals, and the first pair of the matches, Chelsea versus Porto, as well as PSG versus Bayern, and of course, I have to start with PSG versus Bayern, a game that, was crazy load in the first leg of it, and certainly would provide more craziness and madness in the second leg. I think a lot has changed since then, really, and a lot has changed since the draw was made for that game. A lot has changed since the first leg. The circumstances leading into this one, were different for both sides, I think. And again, the circumstances leading to this match as well are different. I mean, since then, Bayern potentially lost Kingsley Coman to injury as well in the game against Union Berlin, although according to reports that always was the plan to play him 45 minutes against Union Berlin in that game. So definitely, there's just a cloud of hope that he will be available to start at least against PSG, because he's available in the squad of the game as well for Bayern Munich for the game. Leon Goretzka, Lucas Hernandez, catching up, at least as of late, available in the squad. Also, we don't know if they're going to be available, if they're going to be available for the game itself, because that is, I think, a big ask for them too. Lucas Zerle, Gnabry, Lewandowski, of course, and Douglas Costa are definitely out of the fixture, out of the squad. So the rest of it is as follows: Neuer, Noble, Pavard, Kimmich, Martinez, Sane, Choupo-Moting, Boateng, Goretzka, Davis, Sarr, Hernandez, Nianzou, Müller, Alaba, Koeman, Musiala, Stanisic, and Seitzer. For PSG as well, they had their fair share of injuries as well. Verratti is available, but I don't know if they're going to be starting, if they're going to be risking the guy. I don't think they're going to be risking Verratti. I mean, even if he's available, I don't think that starting him is even the rightful option, because realistically speaking, that really won't happen. The possible lineups, I think, according to a lot of people, I think everybody expecting, Tanguy Nianzou to start from the Bayern side. Also, Javi Martinez may start as a centre half. Do not throw Goretzka and Hernandez right into the game, probably use them as second half subs. For PSG as well, that nobody expecting to start Verratti, but Florenzi sort of, expected to start. I don't see the wisdom in this. It's really weird. Physically, I don't think they will be ready. This game is going to be pretty exhausting for them as well, coming out of COVID, so it's not going to be easy for them to start. Keylor Navas apparently got through his injuries and is going to be starting in this one, so the only big absentees are going to be Marquinhos. Juan Bernat is available, of course, long term, and there's Mauro Icardi, who's potentially unavailable for this one. As far as Bayern are concerned, as I mentioned, there's Süle, Goretzka, there's Jerome Boateng, Lewandowski as well. So it's an injury crisis at Bayern Munich and definitely won't help. As far as the game itself, the first leg, it was all about the chances that Bayern miss, realistically speaking. It was all about Bayern missing loads of chances. When you create 31 chances and you don't score, you know that there's a problem. And of course, with Lewandowski being absent, that was a problem. Maxim Choupo-Moting, as good as he was, and he was good, he was really decent. He scored a goal, he had a decent game, I thought. But he's nothing like Lewandowski. And, if Lewandowski was there, obviously he would have scored a couple of goals himself, and he would have probably had a hat-trick, 4 goals maybe, I would say, realistically, from out of 31 chances. How are the possibilities? How are the chances? But this game is different. This game, I think PSG should be setting the tone. It should be PSG's game to set the rhythm of the game. It should be PSG's time to, control the game, to put the pace, to try and set up the game the way they want to, because at 3-2, if the advantage away from home, I mean, they should do enough, right? They should do enough to not bottle it, to not let the lead slip from them in the second leg, although they did that a couple of times. And one of those times was, in fact, in their own stadium, in front of fans, against Manchester United. Like, they bottled it big time. And of course, people would say, but that was from the mistakes of the defence, and Buffon and all of that, and they had a worse team back there. But let's be real. This is most of the team that played that game, really, if you look at it. I mean, Paredes was a part of that squad. Prisoner Kimpembe was a part of the game. In fact, it was the guy who caused the winning penalty for United. Idrissa Gueye was there. Angel Di Maria was there. There's, Neymar was there. Verratti was there. Mbappe was there. Like, this was a game where PSG didn't play second string players and said, oh, you know what, yeah, we're going to be resting those and all of that. This was a proper squad, a proper A-team PSG. So there's precedence to bottling a lead. Certainly there's the remontada against Barcelona famously, and so many other occasions in between. But, I mean, certainly PSG will try and set the tone of the game, because that is what they have to do. They have to make this game slower in a moment, because they need to take the energy out of Bayern. Because if Bayern go out of the gates as strong as they did in the first leg, like bar the goal that they conceded, they went as strong out of the gate as they could. If they do the same, there's no guarantees that PSG won't concede. There's no guarantees that PSG, won't really collapse early on in the game. And with no Marquinhos, I don't think there's a real leader out there who could really save them, who could really set them together, who could really, put some strength in them in terms of the mentality and morale. I don't think that will be a charismatic leader enough to do that. Maybe see Keylor Navas, but he's not an outfield player. As much as he would help, of course, with his saves and his tremendous saves, he did a lot in the first game, but definitely, if Bayern go out of the gates as strong as they did in the first leg, and as, as high as they did, as threatening as they did, and as creating as many chances as they did, they will definitely score this time. Because there will be no room for error for them. They will not repeat the same amount of mistakes that they did in the first leg, with not scoring and with not making it count. They will make their chances count if they get them. And definitely PSG would try and, weather the storm for the first 15-20 minutes, maybe try and, see out the first 15-20 minutes, try to absorb the pressure from Bayern maybe, or it would go another scenario. It could go with PSG maybe driving forward as well, trying to press Bayern, maybe taking the fact that they start their games bad. The first 10 to 15 minutes they will start badly, and maybe take advantage of that, knowing that Bayern would be sort of rattled for the first 10 to 15 minutes, looking for the way to enter the game, score a goal maybe, and then defend a little bit and try and see out the game in stages. I mean, it depends really on the first 15-20 minutes. This is a game, literally this game depends on the first 15-20 minutes. Bayern score in those first 15-20 minutes, even if they score in the first half overall, and do not concede goals, if they end 1-0 in the first half, I think they have big chance to go through. If PSG manages 0-0 in the first half, or they score a goal, they lead at half-time, they see out the game somehow, and they have a decent scoreline leading into half-time, there will be no problem for them going through, and it will be their year, really, in terms of defeating Bayern at the very least and going through over the two legs. I don't have strong faith in Bayern. I'm not going to say that they will do it. I don't have exactly the strong faith in my club, unfortunately, but football is all about miracles. It still could happen, even with such a depleted squad. I mean, the possible lineup looks so depleted, and if you look at the probable lineups across the board and across the media, you say Javi Martinez and Tanguy as a possibility, and Jamal Musiala as a possibility. I don't have strong faith, but of course, one can only hope. One can only hope, and one can only dream. PSG, I mean, do not need to have a calamitous game really to lose it. I mean, they can have a good game, but they can have fatal mistakes just like Bayern did. So it should be all about the focus from the Bayern players if they want to go through. For PSG as well, they need to concentrate so hard, especially in defending, because they escaped by the skin of their teeth in the first leg and by the saves of Navas. That won't happen in the second leg, so they should be pretty careful when trying to save themselves and trying to manage the game going forward. And my prediction for this one, I would say, the emotional in me, or the sort of the Bayern fan in me, says it will be probably 3-1 to Bayern and they go through, but the realistic in me, I would say 3-2 or 2-1 for Bayern still, but they don't go through with that result, of course. But hopefully, in the depths of my heart, I hope that Bayern would qualify to the next round and turn it around. The second game, of course, in this pair of the quarterfinals, definitely, I think it's much straightforward, I would say. Between Chelsea and Porto. The game is going to be played in Sevilla, of course. Again, the first leg was played there, and again, I don't know why away goals would count in this one, because it plays in neutral stadium for both. But definitely, this is, I think, a more straightforward game. 2-0 in the first leg. There's really no doubt about it that Chelsea, I think, have enough to go through. It's impossible. I don't see it happening. If at 1-0, if it was at 1-0. And before the goal from Ben Chilwell late on, if it was at 1-0, I would say yes, it could happen realistically, because Porto, I think, are a good team, a decent team as well, and have enough in them to do it. But the second goal, I think, put a sort of an early nail to the coffin in that game. Definitely not the kind of game where Chelsea would want to make it nervous or make it shaky. I mean, they lost to West Brom 5-2, so you're not exactly sure you're not guaranteed exactly if Chelsea are not going to concede more than 2 goals in this game. I mean, crazier things happen in the Champions League. What is the guarantee? What are the chances that Chelsea do not concede 2 goals? I think there are a lot, and mostly, I would say 70-30 against Chelsea to concede 2 goals in this one. But, I mean, Porto are a defensive team by nature. Like, they start on the defensive and they will try to pounce. They'll try and hit you on the counter. Like, they defended really well, by the way, for the first 30 minutes of the first leg, and defended really well and had chances on the set pieces, and they were dangerous on set pieces. And overall, they maybe just outplayed Chelsea, but in the scoreline, that will not matter, because the scoreline is the thing that sets them apart. 2-0 for Chelsea. The advantage is for Thomas Tuchel, and he's been going good as well in the league. So he's been having his chances in the league. He's been having his opportunities as well. Victory against Crystal Palace, an impressive victory, an emphatic 1-4-1, leading into the second leg. Certainly he's going to be doing his usual rotation to rest the players, because he has a big game against Man City in the FA Cup on Sunday or on Saturday. So it has to be into consideration to rotate the players for this one and try and win this one with as less effort as possible, because they don't need to exhaust themselves a lot. They don't need to set themselves on fire, quote unquote, to win this one. They just need to see out the game, see out the moments where Porto could get a little bit carried away and enthusiastic by the result and create some chances maybe. Try to see those situations out, and then, of course, try to be as efficient as they were against Crystal Palace going forward. Kai Havertz showing a good form in that game, really, as well. Christian Pulisic being really, really good. Mason Mount is good as usual, so there's no debate about that. So, definitely, Chelsea have enough in them, I think, to go through. I believe that they have enough to go through, although I know some certain situations would suggest otherwise, but definitely, we could call them wild cards, dark horses, whatever you want to call it, outsiders to win the Champions League. They have it in them, I would say, to do it. There could be surprises in the competition. Potentially, they would face Real Madrid in the semi-final, of course, conceding and considering the first leg result of that game as well between Real Madrid and Liverpool. So Chelsea just need to see the game through, just need to do enough to fend off Porto and fend off their chances. But if this is going to be anything like the Juventus game for them, it will be a hard time. I mean, Porto would probably play the physical one, play the long game with Chelsea. Maybe they would try and beat them 2-0 and just go with them to penalties and to extra time and exhaust them physically and mentally. But if we saw anything, Chelsea, when they're mostly on the ball, they don't get exhausted physically, and they don't lose their stamina. The drop isn't in the stamina as much as it is mentally and in shape. And I think case in point is the West Brom loss 5-2 in the league, where they didn't exactly feel tired, but they felt out of shape, they felt outstretched, and definitely the red card was a big result and a big part of that. So they just need to see off the game, fend off Porto, do not give them hope. Do not, for example, let them take an early lead. Do not really give them a 1-0 lead at halftime, really. Or do not give them a lot of chances where they can, mathematics-wise, from 5 or 6 chances they can get 2. Because they could be effective, really. And they have the players to do so. They have the personnel to be dangerous. So it's all about how Chelsea can see out the game and can manage the game in the first half or in the first 30 minutes, where probably Porto will try and, we'll go forward, we don't have anything to lose, and they will try and create some chances. They can defend really, really, really well when they want to, so it will need a Herculean effort from Chelsea, I would say, to just fend them off in the first half. And then, if they manage to do so, the second half would be pretty easy and straightforward job for them to just keep Porto at bay and just keep them away from Edward Mendy's net. Pulled a couple of saves in the first leg and help them, really, because had Porto scored a goal from their chances, this game would have been completely different, and I would have been talking about a completely different situation. So definitely, I think Chelsea are favourites to win it, to win the tie, that is, and to go through, to see it through, to definitely overpower Porto in this second leg. For Porto, they don't have a lot to lose. They did enough. I think they did well. They reached the quarterfinal, eliminating Juventus on both legs. Beating them 3-2. In my opinion, I believe that that Chelsea could be outsiders, could be the dark horses to win the Champions League if they manage to eliminate Real Madrid in the semi-final. Guaranteed they get to that semi-final first. That's it for me for this episode. I was your boy, the HOD of the BSB. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes, which you can listen to on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. Follow us on social media. I'm at site BSB on Twitter, Paul on Instagram. Before we finish, of course, congratulations to my fellow Muslims with the Ramadan month, the holy fasting month of Ramadan, and hopefully it will be all good vibes on you, and the spirit, of course, will be very, very uplifting. Until then, until the next episode, of course, and until the review of the Bayern Munich PSG game, hopefully on the channel. I was with the HOD of the BSB, and until next time, I will be seeing you soon. Goodbye.